we, as about half a dozen faculty at NYU, highly interdisciplinary, got an NSF grant for something called the NYU Holodeck. How much is it for? Do you remember? It's for something $4 million?
A few million.
Yeah, something like that. And it mostly goes to grad students and equipment. And the idea is that across multiple fields, I'm in computer science, and I do a lot of VR, AR, experiential computing, graphics, animation. And Agnieszka, you can describe what you do better than I can, actually.
Sure. So I'm in music, in the field of music technology, and I work a lot with both music making and also creating acoustic auditory environments.
Right, and Jan Ploss is a professor of educational technology at the Steinhardt School, and he studies how people learn in the presence of different kinds of media, games, etc. Wynn Burleson is in the School of Health and Nursing, and he studies how these kinds of cutting-edge immersive technologies can be used for healthcare. Mike Shelley is in the math department. He's really interested in very, very complex simulations. Claudio Silva is...
Is there anyone else joining?
We can hear you whispering. Okay.
It's Brian here. So I know. Geez.
What? Flip suite seats? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I go. Okay. Okay. Every 5 minutes we're going to do this. All right. Yeah. Everybody flip seats with the person. No. Okay. And Claudio Silva in the engineering school studies all the data that flows around urban environments, from electricity to internet to people flow to ever. And their research is things like emergency preparedness. There are a whole bunch of applications where you want to kind of just be ready if, depending upon what happens. And so what's interesting is we're all doing really different things, but all of us see the need to kind of move forward into what are the future of the way people are going to do different kinds of science. And so what's happened is a bunch of pairwise communication and collaborations that are really fascinating. And I don't know, one of us, you want to describe what we're doing? Or either way?
You can do it.
Okay, so for example, the two of us, Agnieszka has some really phenomenal grad students, and so do I. And they're, as those of you who saw Agnieszka's talk yesterday know, they're very interested in questions. One of the things they're interested in questions around 3D audio. If you record audio in one acoustic environment and the sound bounces off the walls, how would you remove that acoustic signature from all that echo and then add another one so it sounds like you're in a different room? So for example, if we have people walking around in a shared mixed reality experience and say they have head-mounted microphones, how would you make it feel as though if we are in two different locations, the sound is right for not only is Agnieszka right there, but she's actually all in the correct acoustic environment as we walk around the room. And so that's complementary to the work that we're doing with the visual and animation aspects of it. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that a lot of this has been going on for a number of years. This is not new questions that we're asking, but I think now we're at a point where technology is no longer a barrier to actually doing this. So we're kind of thinking beyond what the technology can do. What do we want to do with it? How can we create an environment that that superimposes the real and the not real, but in a way that it's really indistinguishable from reality? And so some of the things that I think a lot about is how can we bring musicians together in a way that gets those creative juices flowing. And there's a very big difference between having a conversation on Skype, or we've been doing distributed performances for many years, and musicians can play together at the same time and be together. But that doesn't replace when you're in a room with a bunch of musicians who are jamming. And when you think about how a lot of bands were, like the Beatles, for example, a lot of the Beatles albums were recorded when they were just thrown into a studio for a week and say, okay, go, do it. They didn't have anything together before, but they jammed and they created this amazing, amazing music. And you have to, I ask myself the question, well, how does that happen? And how can we recreate that kind of experience? Because it's in the end, it's about the experience. How can we recreate that kind of experience using what we're all talking about here today?
I'm just picturing this nightmare scenario of the Beatles actually, they collaborated only over virtual reality, and the music would have been really different. Maybe it wouldn't have been better. I don't know. But so another pairwise.
So Ken, just in closing, why don't you ask the final question to yourself?
Wait, are you saying we ran out of time, John?
No,
You're
I'm
being
saying-
really
I'm saying
subtle.
We got the next. We got the
Okay.
next group.
John is subtly indicating that we've actually run out of time. For those of you who don't speak John, can we get a Janet question?
You know, she passed. us.
She passes. She has no question.
I also want to point out that you know, we got Matt and his team who have top cinematographers and
Awesome.
great equipment. They recorded the 15 hours yesterday here. Director back there. They are directing, have someone remote kind of working the cameras in Boston right now. So I feel like there's some interesting, that has some relevance to some of the stuff you're talking about.
Could we also give them a round of applause? These guys have been incredible. Okay. And I think that could be our closing statement.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank
All
you
right,
very
thank
much.
you.